Hello, Brad Bob here, and today I want to talk about the FERS Survivor Annuity. So this is something you're going to have to make a decision on at retirement, okay? So when you get to retirement, you're going to have your FERS annuity, right? So you got your FERS annuity of, let's say, 30% your high three, and let's just say your FERS annuity is $3,000. Okay. Now, the reason for the FERS Survivor Annuity is so that if you die before your spouse, then your spouse gets something from your FERS annuity, okay? So if you choose to take that full $3,000, then that would be taking no survivor annuity, all right? And if you choose no survivor annuity, that means 0 to spouse, okay? The only exception here is if you haven't used everything that you've paid in. However, most FERS retirees are going to use all of their contributions that they paid in within a year or so. Okay, and once you're retired for about a year, you're going to get all the money out of it that you have paid in your FERS annuity. So, and after that, that means 0 to spouse. So the only thing a spouse may get is I guess, remainder. I'm not sure what the exact term is for it. So remainder of contributions paid in. All right. So if your spouse depends on that FERS Survivor Annuity or needs that income to live on, or if your spouse needs FEHB, so your federal health benefits, then you have to choose a survivor annuity, okay? And if you choose a survivor annuity, you have 2 options. So first option is the full, okay? With the full, you're gonna take a 10% reduction in that, okay, which is gonna be $2,700, all right? So you choose the full survivor annuity, then you're going to get a monthly benefit of $2,700, and at your death, your spouse is going to get 50% of this full amount, okay? So 50% benefit, which is going to be $1,500, all right? Now, regarding this, well, let's just go to the second option, okay? So this is the full option. 2 is partial. And that is a 5% reduction. Okay, so in other words, $2,850 is what you would get. And the spouse would get a 25% benefit. So $750 a month. Okay, so 3 options: 0, full survivor annuity, partial survivor annuity. Okay, the key to each of these is this, okay? That if you choose either one, as long as you choose a survivor annuity, your spouse can receive or can continue your federal health benefits, all right? If you do not choose one of these and you die before your spouse, then your spouse cannot continue FEHB. Now, a couple other things with your survivor annuity. If your spouse happens to die before you, okay, let's say you take this 10% reduction, your benefit's $3,000, which goes down to $2,700. You live 20 years into retirement, so $300 a month it costs, $3,600, 20 years. So you end up paying in $72,000, okay, for the FERS Survivor Annuity. Now, your spouse then passes before you. Do you get any of that money back? And the answer is no. okay? But you can contact OPM and let them know that your spouse has passed, and they will increase your annuity back to the full amount, all right? So you do not get anything back, but if your spouse passed before you, they will go back to 100%. Now, I have some people that say, well, what about my kids? Won't it pass on to my kids? No, okay? This survivor annuity, if you choose the survivor annuity to go to a spouse, then it's only going to a spouse, okay? So if your spouse dies before you, then you're not going to get a benefit out of that, all right? If you pass before your spouse, then yes, it will pass on to your spouse. And people sometimes ask, well, can't I just name my kids? Yes, there. I forget even what it's called, but then age comes into account. So if you're going to name somebody like a kid, then it's going to be reduced significantly. So it's not just going to be 10%, it's going to be a lot. So in other words, I have never come across a case where that's a good fit to do. Doesn't mean it never is, but it's not something that I have come across rarely, very rarely would that be a good option. Now, point out one other thing, and that is, so there's some planning that needs to be done here, and a lot of it is going to depend on age. So your age and your spouse's age, and then health. Okay, those two things, along with how much money you have in investment. So, what kind of asset levels do you have that a spouse could create income from should you pass before them? And then maybe you can look at going with a partial instead of a full. Is ages. So is your spouse 10 years younger than you, where it's very likely that you pass before your spouse? Then that makes this even more of a benefit. Are you 10 years younger than your spouse and your spouse is in poor health? Okay, a scenario like that, maybe you don't want a survivor, or maybe you have to have some type of survivor so that your spouse can continue FEHB. Maybe you go with a partial survivor. Okay, now one other thing to point out, this survivor annuity is costing you $300 a month, all right? So if you are paying $300 a month for a benefit at your death, what are you paying for? It's life insurance, right? It's a benefit at your death, nothing more than life insurance. It's just a little different. This is in the form of an annuity, meaning it's going to be paid out monthly. There's no lump sum. And then there's no guarantee that's going to be paid out, because if your spouse passes before you, then boom, it's gone. Nobody gets benefit. So I've had people ask, well, can I get life insurance instead? What if I get a term policy? And that's something you want to be really careful with. Yes, getting life insurance or a combination of life insurance and maybe a partial survivor annuity may be a good fit, but again, everybody is unique, okay? This is one huge thing here you have to keep in mind and cannot forget, okay? If your spouse is dependent on your federal health benefits, you cannot just say, I'm not going to take a reduction, I'm going to take the full benefit, because then at your death, your spouse does not have access to your FEHB. So one benefit of getting life insurance would be that if you say you're paying $300 a month for a life insurance policy and it's a permanent life insurance policy, meaning it's going to be around for the rest of your life, then there is a guarantee that somebody would get that benefit at your death, okay? Whether it's your spouse or a kid or whoever it may be. So that is one benefit of life insurance. But again, that's something you want to be careful about considering it. And I mentioned before, a term policy. People ask, I just had somebody this week ask me, well, can I get a term policy instead? I don't know. I'd be really careful with getting a term policy, because the thing with the term is it's around for that term. It's temporary. So if you get a 10-year term policy, what if you die in the 11th year? And will your spouse have enough income then without the life insurance? Because then the life insurance is going to be gone. Or if it's 15 years or 20 years. So if you're looking at getting a life insurance policy, maybe a term policy would be a good fit, but more likely than not, you want to look at a permanent insurance policy. And then again, maybe just taking a full survivor annuity is what you need, is what's best for you. But these are just some considerations, okay? This is how your survivor annuity is going to work at retirement. And if you take anything less than the full, I'm pretty sure if you take the partial, I know if you take no reduction, your spouse has to sign off on that so that they know what's going on, what they're doing. So again, a little bit of information about FERS Survivor Annuity, life insurance. Take a little time, do your due diligence, figure out what's best for you. Thanks.